Let's go to Matt Walsh. Maybe Matt Walsh should weigh in on this. What do you think about Social Security, Matt?
He is, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, an unsustainable, unfair, morally atrocious, and economically insane system that is only defended by both parties because it is politically unpopular to be honest about it.
And I'm going to have to retweet right now this segment. This is one of Matt Walsh's best segments ever, and he's always fired.
Middle MAGA.
Well, what's retirement age? Is it what is it, 67?
65.
65?
Yeah.
So in 10, 12 years, so it's going to be 13 years from now, and you're Gen X, you're 48. So this is right around retirement age for you.
Yep.
And you ain't got nothing.
Well, I'm not getting. I'm not expecting to get anything out of it.
I just mean like for your generation.
It will be interesting for the first like class of retirees that are like, sorry, we don't have anything. I mean, what is that going to look like? Like you said, maybe they'll just start being like, you get half your benefits. We're going to try and get it from somewhere else. But, this is something
It's interesting. There was I'm going to take a side mission on this because we're still talking about the Federal Reserve. So Social Security is going bankrupt. But do you remember what that guy said? Jared Bernstein said? He said the government doesn't go bankrupt. This is 11 minutes, 33 seconds in, so I can come back to it when I'm ready. Remember, we played this clip? This clip's going to be played a lot. Jared Bernstein, everybody, on the government. So we talked about Social Security can go bankrupt. What about this here, Jared? What about the government? Will the government go bankrupt?
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs.
Oh, so the U.S. government won't go bankrupt because it can print its own money, but then retirees will, or the Social Security will go bankrupt? Let's go to Matt Walsh. Maybe Matt Walsh should weigh in on this. What do you think about Social Security, Matt?
He is, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, an unsustainable, unfair, morally atrocious, and economically insane system that is only defended by both parties because it is politically unpopular to be honest about it. But I'm not a politician running for office, so I can be honest about it. The system is a farce, and it should be abolished, obviously. That doesn't mean we should abolish it overnight. Doesn't mean we should leave elderly people high and dry with no safety net. All it means is that the current system is a disaster on every level, and we should be looking for a way out.
Matt Walsh is so good. I just want to... I'm up here quick to criticize people when they're wrong or when I disagree. Got to give props when Matt Walsh is that dude. This is a courageous take. He got attacked by everybody on the right. They're like, dog, nobody said he was really wrong. They're just like, dog, this ain't the time. Why? Because it's politically untenable. I'm sorry. I got to start this over again.
Social Security is, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, an unsustainable, unfair, morally atrocious, and economically insane system that is only defended by both parties because it is politically unpopular to be honest about it. But I'm not a politician running for office, so I can be honest about it. The system is a farce, and it should be abolished, obviously. That doesn't mean we should abolish it overnight. Doesn't mean we should leave elderly people high and dry with no safety net. All it means is that the current system is a disaster on every level, and we should be looking for a way out. The conversation should be, how do we get out of this boondoggle without harming people? Yeah. But we can't have that conversation because most politicians on both sides have declared that this awful, insane, unsustainable, self-destructing system must be kept entirely intact and untouched and allowed to continue exactly as it is until it all falls apart anyway. Again, that is not a position that anyone has taken because they think it's the right position. It's a position taken out of pure cowardice and cynicism. So let's clarify a few things here.
You can tell that he's heated. He got a little bit more energy on this one. Let him cook.
First of all, when you receive Social Security, you are not getting the money that you paid into the system. Mm-hmm. The money you receive is not your money.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
That money, your money, is gone. The government has spent it. It is gone. The government is not taking Social Security from you and your paycheck and keeping it in a special box. What was it? The lock box, I think is what Al Gore said. And, keeping it there to give to you when you retire. That's not the way the system works. No, the system is a giant state-run Ponzi scheme where current beneficiaries are paid out of the contributions of people who are currently working. So you are not funding your own retirement with the Social Security that you pay. You are funding the retirement of currently retired people. Again, a Ponzi scheme, and one that becomes less and less sustainable with each passing year. Not only because people are living much longer past retirement has been observed, but also.
And then going back to Timcast, they'll break this down. Is this part of the reason why? I have to look up, does that make sense? Will they be paying into Social Security? And I believe so, unless they're getting paid under the table. To immigration is where I'm going. Are they, or just having kids, are they the way that you're going to get money eventually back into the system? Is that part of the reason for the illegals coming here? Because everybody in DC wants the illegals here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. Remember, they didn't like college campus kids saying some mean things about a country that's not ours. And they rallied with the swiftness. Joe Biden threatened to force a needle in the arms of innocent workers if they didn't take a medical therapeutic, and they didn't care. There was no energy there at all. It was just left up to the Supreme Court. Luckily, they threw it away. Could you imagine if that didn't get overturned through OSHA, as if it were some occupational hazard? That's what OSHA's for. Unbelievable. And what did these MAGA or Republicans there? Some of them were mad, but most of them weren't mad. You say something mean about somebody putting a little cap on their head, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. Man, we are completely bananas. And Matt Walsh can't even talk about that stuff. He can't. So I can't even say something nice about a dude without knocking him.
So, because people are having fewer kids, which is the bigger problem here. 50 years ago, there were many more workers available to support each retired person. That number is dropping exponentially by the decade, which creates a system that becomes weaker and more top-heavy and inches closer to inevitable collapse as it continues. And everybody knows that, but nobody wants to do anything about it. Meanwhile, the workers propping up the system are much poorer than the older people they're supporting. In fact, the net worth of people 65 and older is, on average, more than double the net worth of people in their 30s and 40s. This is a system that takes thousands of dollars every year from working class families and gives it to people who are, on average, wealthier than they are. In fact, millions of Social Security recipients are literally millionaires. Millionaires who, again, are not receiving the money that they paid in because that money has already been stolen. That's gone. It's been gone for decades. They are instead receiving money directly out of the paychecks of working class families with young children to feed. And it's not a small amount. We're talking about thousands of dollars every year that working class families who have children to feed, who have college tuitions to pay, who have car payments and mortgages and everything else.
Why would people on the populist left disagree with this? I don't know. I don't know where they're at politically. Where's the lie? Where's he off? This is not good. So the next step, though, Matt, is what's the difference between that and just taxes in general? He doesn't go that far, though. But I like where you're heading, at least here.
That money is stolen from them and given to people, some of whom need it and some don't.
This is where corporate media still has the domination. They're not saying this on corporate media. If they were saying this on corporate media, people would be upset. So you have to gatekeep corporate media. And that shows you X is good. Young Nick is back on X, and I think Milo's back on X. And I think that looks good. There's optics there. But what's the impact? And maybe we got to work to make it have some impact. I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm mad that we don't have First Amendment protection. But when you look at it, it's still the mainstream. You can look at their numbers and say, oh, they don't have anything. Tucker Carlson doesn't have a fraction of the impact he had when he was on Fox News. I don't care. He probably has over 1 billion views based on, maybe he does, maybe it's not, but he has a lot, maybe 500 million. He has a lot of views based on the way X is calculating it. And he doesn't have 1/100th of the impact nationally on this election or just in general that he would on Fox News. So where are we at? How do we fix that? That's the problem here. What Matt's talking about doesn't go anywhere. Where is it going? Who's seeing this stuff? First Amendment, man. You can't. Immigration. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear ish about it. Inflation. Don't want to hear ish about it. Nothing can be solved without getting that First Amendment.
And on top of that, everyone understands that Social Security, one way or another, probably won't exist in its current form when the 35-year-old working class person today is eligible for it. The system will collapse and future generations will be left holding the bag. And instead of trying to do something to avoid that catastrophe, the current approach is for everyone to just get everything they can out of this insane system.
There's no, what's the incentive other than morals? Like, you think a politician has, they're all like bad lawyers. They're like evil lawyers. They don't have morals. They would run over their own family members if it meant one vote. They're morally corrupt, immoral, they're self-aspirational sleazebags is what I used to say back in the day on the show. I just made stuff up. I mean, they're the most heinous self-aspirational sleazebags on the planet. That's all of them, includes Thomas Massey, all of them. Some are better than others. Thomas Massey's better than others, but that's what they all are. There's not one that's not that, or they wouldn't be there. To get there, you have to have some level of, I don't give a F about anything but myself. All of them. So what's the incentive? There's no incentive. And then the people are too deaf, dumb, and blind. So what we need to go to answers, Matt. You know my answer, secession. You have a better one, Matt? Let me know. What secession would mean is, Matt, I think we would be on the same side with everything here. We would be able to share a country, and we would be like, hey, we're going to work out a payment plan or whatever. I'm not talking about secession where you don't pay the debt. You're like, hey, we owe, let's calculate, just like a divorce, how much do we owe on this credit card, and we'll work out a payment plan to pay it back. This is not going to be on some beef stuff, on some violent stuff. We can't live together anymore. Let's work out a deal and separate.
And then I guess just let your children and grandchildren deal with the consequences when they're dead. You know, like when you're dead, let your children and grandchildren deal with it.
Insane.
I want to get mine, and screw them, they'll deal with it later. I'm not going to be here.
Yep.
That's the mentality. And it is, to put it mildly, a selfish way to approach this issue. Social Security is a bad investment. And I mean, it's not really an investment at all because, again, it is a Ponzi scheme where the money invested today is immediately pilfered. There's no investment at all. But if you want to call it an investment, then you cannot deny that it is a very bad one. It's an investment that yields no return. If you were to take the thousands of dollars a year stolen out of your paycheck for Social Security and actually invest it in any other way, really, you would have 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much, if not more, by the time you hit retirement. If you simply put all that money in a high-yield savings account and you just kept it there, you would be in a much better situation come retirement.
Yep.
Not only that, but if you kept your own money, and this is a point I rarely hear anyone make, if you kept your own money, saved it yourself, invested it, whatever you want to do with it, it's your money. That also means that when you die, if there's any left over, you can pass it down to your children and grandchildren. But with Social Security, if you pay in for 40 years and then you receive checks for 2 years and then you die, all the rest of what you're owed is kept by the government.
If you disagree with Matt, I don't care about the optics. I don't want to hear. I don't even want to hear it. We'll go heads up in the comment if you want to talk about the optics. Do I look like I'm in the mood to talk about optics? Voting for president and worried about Republicans winning or Democrats winning. I have zero cares, zero F's in the world for that. What I want to know is where he is wrong strategically, not politically, but I'm talking about with like your life strategically, not DC strategically. Like for me, paying into this system strategically, does that make sense? How do you stop it? That's what I want to talk about. Give a damn about the optics.
Doesn't go to your children. You know, it does not become generational wealth. See, this is the theme with this system, if you haven't noticed. Rather than pass down wealth to our children, which is what we should be doing, it requires our children to pass their wealth to us. It is exactly backwards. And the only people who really benefit, I mean, the people who really profit from this are the corrupt politicians who keep the system going.
Yep.
And they don't keep it going because they're concerned about grandma. Okay? That's not why they do it. They do it because of the power and control it gives them over all of our lives. Now, we should and do still have programs to help elderly people.
The small percent of the 1% and the politicians completely dominating millions of people. Fascinating psychology. How do a few thousand people dominate millions of people, keeping them stupid, fat, dumb, arguing with each other, addicted to phones, technology, sugar, pop, fast food, entertainment, trash, and just completely dominate their lives monetarily.
Who are in need and impoverished. And there are plenty in that category. Now, again, every time we talk about Social Security, all we ever do is we talk about the poor elderly people who need it, which we should talk about that. But we totally ignore the fact that there's a whole category of older people who are rich and don't even need it. And yet we're taking money from people who have like a fraction of their wealth.
That's an interesting take from Matt. I did not expect that part of the take. That's a populist left take right there. That's a class, class, not warfare, but that's a classist, not racist, but classist type take.
It's crazy.
Which I'm perfectly fine with, but I did not expect that from Matt Walsh.
But as far as the elderly people who are actually poor or in need, nobody thinks that grandma should be kicked out on the street to die. But if you think that this state-run Ponzi scheme is the only way to ensure that grandma is okay, then you have been brainwashed by those corrupt politicians. They have used fear tactics to get you to agree to a system that is hurting you. The tale as old as time. The truth is that ending the Social Security scam would be an enormous win for the American people, and especially for the middle class. Each paycheck would increase substantially. I mean, you could save or spend your money as you choose instead of having it stolen and squandered by the reptilian scumbags in D.C. It would be, I cannot think of a single thing that could be done that would transform people's lives at that scale that quickly. And yeah, while we're at it, we can abolish all foreign aid. We can take a chainsaw to the federal bureaucracy. I'm all in favor of that. I advocate for it all the time. And all of this would result in a drastic increase in prosperity for working people everywhere, immediately, overnight. And that's exactly why none of it will ever happen.
Such a good segment. This is populism, everybody. This is the argument that power should be distributed to as many people as possible. Sometimes if you don't save the money, yeah, you take the money, you go gamble it. Yeah, you had the power to do what you wanted to do with the money, and rest in peace. What did Jimmy Kimmel say? If you don't take the V, he was like, rest in peace, Wheezy. Rest in peace.
And it's also why few politicians will even pretend that they want it to happen.
Oh my gosh, I got to tweet this right now. I haven't watched that since
Social Security is, without a doubt, without a shadow,
came out in March. And I'm going to have to retweet right now this segment. This is one of Matt Walsh's best segments ever, and he's always fire. He doesn't do a bad segment. I still remember the Blippy segment. I was watching Matt Walsh on TV, just YouTube through the TV one morning, I think it was. My kid at the time was watching Blippy. He doesn't watch it anymore. He's too old. But Matt Walsh had a take on Blippy that was funny. And my son's like, is he talking about Blippy? I was like, yeah. Yeah, he talking about Blippy. I don't want to get digress into that. Let's get back to Tim Pool.
Middle MAGA.